Hi everyone, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in, if you will. Alright, so here's another short or short-ish video, and this one is about conflict resolution in marriage. Like I've been saying, it's not supposed to be a symposium discussion. So I'm just going to give a few points and we can discuss in the comment section. Alright, so let's get to it. I'll talk about things that have helped me in my marriage and things I think are beneficial to you as well, right? So the first thing that I always think about, okay, not always, because I haven't always been like this. I've had the times when I would sulk, I would complain, I would nag, I would give the cold shoulder, and I was doing all of that, and sometimes, I was going to say especially for we women, but I'm not even going to go into that debate. Right? But sometimes I just felt I could get my way, and if he knew how angry I was, or if he knew how upset I was, or how horrible what he did was, or if he saw that I was pouting, was if I was fuming, then it was more drama, then he would know that yes, he really needs to buckle down and do the right thing. But initially, being a nice guy, he would, and this is when we were courting, not even. Did this happen when we were married? Maybe it still happened a couple of times when we just got married. Right? So being a nice guy that he is and being a stranger to drama, he would ask me, he would cuddle, he would, my husband is so big. He's not Snoop, right? But he would really appeal and all of that, right? And then after a while, when it wasn't working, he just like, I really can't do this. We need to talk. We are adults. Let's talk about it and, tell me what it is. I'll tell you what it is from me and we'll work things out. As simple as that sounds, it wasn't making sense to me. Eventually, when I realized that I was losing the man, which is what happens eventually, and it goes both ways. When someone is trying to make peace in the relationship and you're making it tougher to make peace in that relationship, you're going to shut the person out. And at some point, you may realize that this person is no longer here and it's too late for you to redeem that relationship. And sometimes this happens even in marriage. So sometimes the wife or the husband might open up certain parts of themselves to you, but there are certain parts of him or her that are closed up because you have fought the person, quote and unquote, to his standstill. So the person like, okay, let's just, be cordial, but let's leave these other areas alone, which shouldn't be. You should, be together in everything, right? So you need to understand that in every relationship, like already, there will always be conflicts, whether it's the boss and an employee, parent and child, teacher and student, whatever it is. Even with you and God, there are conflicts sometimes. So conflicts in the sense that some people are even angry with God. You said you would do this has not been done. I've had a dream or something. I really don't understand what it means. It's annoying, it's frustrating. God, why are you not talking? Why is it not clear? Those kind of things. So even you yourself, sometimes you're conflicted within yourself. What should I eat? Yam or beans? What should I eat? Bread or ogi? So you have this kind of conflicts. You want to make a career decision and you get a couple of offers. And your mind, or one part of your mind, is telling you to take this one because of XYZ reason, and the other side of your mind, or your second mind, as the case may be, is telling you that you should take this other offer because of XYZ. And then there's a conflict within yourself. So there will be conflict, right? There will be conflicts. But the first thing that I always think about when there is an ish between my husband and I, and by God's grace, that doesn't happen too often because we've grown, right? And I think that's also very important. As you're growing in the relationship, you really need to seek to understand the person you are with. Seek to understand your husband, seek to understand your wife, to learn about them, to learn more about them. It's even a skill in life, people skill, people management. If you're going to be a boss, if you're going to be the head of a department, you're going to be the head of a team, if you're going to be wherever you are, being in a corporate environment, a social environment, a religious environment, you need to learn to deal with people. Not everybody is like you. Not everybody grew up the way you grew up. Not everybody has your experiences. Not everybody has your set of skills. Not everybody has your educational background. Not everyone is as enlightened as you are. Right, I get tongue-tied there. Yeah, so you need to understand that people are different levels, different places, different spaces. And funny enough, the thing is, when you interact with people at a certain point in time, that might not even be their true reflection of who they really are, but where they were based on whatever was going on in their lives. So you need to know, people management is a skill in life. you would be at peace with a lot of people if you just knew how to manage, if you just knew how to be diplomatic, if you just knew how to be tactful, if you just knew how to empathize, if you just knew how to be wise. And my husband is someone who's very good at this. If you are fighting my husband, that is the thing has passed. It has passed. Because he would so manage the situation that if anything happens at the end, it's okay, I don't know what I'm saying, but it would really be something serious, like for it to even become escalated at all. He would have done everything on different levels for it to get there. And it's a very important skill, people skills, right? You need to learn how to manage people, and this includes your spouse. So I've been trying to say the first thing that comes to mind all this while. So the first thing is, my husband and I are on the same team. If anything is trying to pull us apart, then we need to take it apart. We need to deal with it and do away with it, because we're on the same team. And so we know who we are, where we are going, what the big picture is, general objective. I love you, you love me, you make me happy, I make you happy, even though right now it seems as if that's not the case. I know you're the father of my children, I'm the mother of your children, we're in ministry together, we're partners, we're best friends actually. So this thing is just a thing, it's not us. So we need to get it out of the way. It's a distraction, it's a time waster, because the time we could be using to plan, enjoy ourselves, grow in each other, pray, and so many other things, we're using it to, it's a time waster. So as soon as possible, we need to get past it. So we're on the same team. If anybody's trying to tear us apart, it's not us, it's an enemy, and we need to deal with the enemy, right? And so that's the next thing. You're not dealing with your spouse, you're dealing with the issue. You're not attacking your spouse, you're attacking the issue, and you're dealing with the issue. So if you don't say things like, you're such a wicked person, no, I feel hurt, I feel offended by what you have done. What you did made me feel this way. Maybe that was not your intention. I know you're usually not like that, but this is how I felt when you did this. So don't call the person names, don't attach labels to the person. Tag the issue and not the person, because the person is going to start feeling, well, if you feel I'm so horrible, why are you with me? If you feel I'm so horrible, maybe I'm not good enough for you. If you feel I'm so horrible, let me be in my own space and you can do your own thing. So I know we respond to names, whether consciously or subconsciously. I mean, if you call your husband or your wife a certain name over time, that's what he or she is going to be to you. And that's why we hear stories about a man or a woman who has abused their wives or their husband physically or verbally, and then some other wonderful guy or not so wonderful guy at all ends up with this person. You're wondering what happened. The person sees the person you have thrown away, quote and unquote, or abused so much, as a treasure. But you who have called the person so many bad names over time will not see the treasure that person is. That's just how it works, because with our words we create what is around us, right? So you're on the same team, you address the issue and not the person, and then you must be willing to settle. You must be willing to settle. So you don't come to the discussion table to lash out. I mean, you can vent, you can air your thoughts, your views, express yourself. Of course, you should be allowed to express yourself. In any relationship where you cannot air your opinion, that is some form of bondage, slavery, manipulation, and you should be finding your way to exit it if it's getting too toxic and cannot be dealt with within your capacity, right? So you're not coming to lash out, you're not coming to listen so that you can respond, or listen so that you can contradict, or listen so that you can, give your own point. You're coming with the mindset that, okay, we're going to talk, I'm going to say what hurt me, you're going to say what hurt you, I'm going to say what I intended, you're going to say what you intended, and then we're going to sort this thing out. But if you're already coming to the table with the mindset of, oh, today walk back, you guys, I don't know how to translate that, but something like, you will get it from me today. If you're already coming with a fighting spirit, I think that's the wrong way to come to the table. All right, I'm just quickly going to breeze through this. Another thing you need to do is, if possible, like they say in Nigerian parlance, water don't pass Gary. If it's something you have tried to deal with between yourselves over time, through communication, through praying, talking, and it's not working, you might need to talk to a mentor, you might need to talk to a pastor, you might need to talk to someone older in the family. I don't advise this except it's absolutely necessary, because I believe that as two adults who are working together in marriage, in love, you should be able to sort things out. But there might be 1, 2, 3 times that this is not the case. This should be found in between, if you ask me. But hey, if you really feel like, you know what, we really can't sort this out ourselves, we have tried, we've done everything we can, then you can talk to a third party about it. A mentor, someone you trust, and someone who has been tested and tried over time, right, in your lives. Okay, so another thing you can do is also have a rule of thumb. So for example, in my house, so the days when I used to sulk and, you know, complain and whine, and I wouldn't talk to my husband, I would just be doing what they call domestic malice. So have you eaten? Yes. Have you had your bath? Yes. Have you watched TV? Yes. Is your phone charged? Yes. And all of those kind of things, right? So when I used to do that, sometimes, and I will not talk, you ask me what's wrong with me, and I'll give you the classic female answer of nothing. And my husband was like, okay, moving on. Topic for another day. And then, you know, maybe after like 2 or 3 days, I will now send him this lengthy message, and he'll be like, from where to where? We have hardly spoken 3 words. How do you have 120 words plus in 2, 3 different messages sending to me now? Why didn't you just tell me all these things, right? And I realized that wasn't working. And then we started off by saying, okay, if you don't feel like talking about this at a certain time, because I also know that for women sometimes that can be an issue. You are heated, you are angry, you are boiling, and you know he's not asking what's wrong, and you're trying to talk, but it's not coming out well. You're not making sense, but you know what you want to say. And so you're saying something and he's like, no, this is not it. And he's actually right. But you know that he's right, but what you're also saying is right. But in that time, it's not just coming out right. So it sounds as if you're defeated, and it seems as if your husband has won and you're not making sense. So I noticed that, especially because my husband is very cerebral, he's very intelligent. If you give him 1, he can give you 100. Calmly, nicely, not harsh or anything, but you will feel his 100, right? And so because I realized that talking at that time wasn't going to work, I said, okay, you know what? We started doing, I'm not ready to talk about it now. Give me a day or 2. Now that day or 2 doesn't mean I'm absolutely quiet. I need to still be friendly. Now, you need to know, like we started with, you're on the same team, and at the end of the day, you are both besties, you are both best friends, you are lovers, husband and wife, right? So even more so now, even when I'm not talking with my husband, or he has upset me more, like, I will be like, you know, I'm not talking to you, right? Well, let me just show you this picture. I show him a picture and I'm off, right? Or I see him in the morning, I'm like, hi. I say hi, I look you in the eye, hi, and I'm gone. So I still try to keep the connection, because what you don't want to do is to cause a vacuum, so that when you're now ready to talk, it's awkward, it's somehow, you know, you've already created the space, and you know how life happens so fast. So much might have happened in between. You now have so much to catch up with. Who is Jide? When did you sign that contract? Are you serious? How come you didn't tell me? You now start feeling left out. Things that have happened in that space will now start causing fight again. But you're the one that say you're not talking. Don't allow life with your spouse pass you by. Connect and bond, all right? Unfortunately, in some incidents, it goes as far as another woman or another man, you know, filling that space. And sometimes it's just 2 days or 3 days. But the person is hooked. The person is now used to hearing from Jide or Janet or something. And something that seems like nothing turns out to be something. It was a like on his post. It was a comment on her post. It was a, oh, I like what you wore today in her DM. And because it's a vacuum at that time, it grows. So even when you're not talking, try to be friendly, try to be cordial, you know, anticipating the time that, you know what, in 1 to 3 days, we're going to deal with this thing, right? You also need to understand how the other person communicates. And I've spoken about this so many times, so I'm not going to go into it again. You can't always, or you shouldn't communicate to your spouse the way you want to be communicated to all the time. There's a language your spouse understands, there's a timing, there's a mode, there's a setting, there's a format in which your spouse receives information, there's a time. Understand that and package your message to them in that way. There's a way you can package a message to me, or there's a way you can package a message to a sensitive person, and the person just be crying throughout and feeling miserable and hurt and broken, so you can't even fix the relationship. So you need to package your complaints to the person, and this applies even as a boss in different ramifications. You need to package your message particularly for that person If the person is choleric, all out, you know, hyper, sanguine, and all of that, there's a way you can even spark for the person, and the person will just be laughing. And you know, you can settle it that way. So you need to understand how that person communicates. Don't just lash out at the person because you are upset. If you don't speak a language the person understands, you're not going to get a response because you haven't communicated with the person. The person hasn't heard anything. You've just been shouting and wasting your time. All right. So it's important you do all of these things. Maybe 2 more points. You need to. They say that change is the evidence of repentance. So you need to make the effort to change. You know. I interviewed my grandparents who have been married for 60 years and together for 62 years in all. And my granddad says, if I know my wife doesn't like something, I just stop doing it. I mean, I'm still trying to unpack that statement. It sounds so simple and it sounds like really just because she doesn't like it. But hey, 62 years, right? So if you know your husband or your wife really doesn't like something, maybe it's time to leave it, especially if it doesn't affect the big picture of anything. Let it go, right? And then finally, you need to pray. My husband always says, just like communication is the blood of every relationship. So if you're communicating with someone consistently, there's hope for the relationship. It's when you shut things off, shut communication off, that reconciliation becomes difficult. You know, people always bring up the argument from the book of Matthew that Moses gave the people license to divorce. But the Bible says that in the beginning it was not so, but because of the hardness of the hearts of men, and that's why Moses allowed them to do that. So if your heart is not hardened, and this is another reason why again and again we counsel that you marry someone of the same faith, especially for us as believers, that your heart is colored by the love of God. You see things from the perspective of God, not from your flesh and what you will, right? What you want and what you prefer. Jesus could have stayed in heaven. That's better than coming to earth. But because of us, he gave it up. But you need to have the best interest of the relationship in heart. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, right? And so you need to communicate. If you're communicating with someone constantly, okay, so I was talking about the hardness of heart. If your heart isn't hardened, you can really sort anything out. You can really sort anything out. And then pray. My husband always says that you really can't find someone you are praying for. You really can't find someone you genuinely love. It will take a lot. You would rather take a lot of the person's excesses than fight with the person. All right, so let's talk about the rest in the comment section. But I hope this has been helpful. At least 1, 2, or 3 of the points have resonated with you, and you can apply to make your relationship less conflict oriented.